Hey everyone, welcome to Happy Hour. I am Becky, and joining me for Happy Hour this evening is Carolina. Hi, Carolina.
Hey, Becky.
And
Excited to be
I
here.
know you are. We are super excited that author Melanie Harlow is our guest this evening. Welcome to Happy Hour.
Thank you so much. I feel like I should have a martini or something. I'm terribly boring with just my water today.
That's okay.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I feel you. I got water, just mine's in a fancy cup. That's all.
Yours is fancier than mine. Not only is this just boring, this is probably refilled. Like I'm so boring that I refill these.
That's okay. I'm kind of obsessed. I don't know if you spend any time over on TikTok, Melanie, but there's like water talk, which is water and everybody's like mixing the flavor packets and the squeeze flavors into water. Someone made a Shirley
Oh,
Temple water today that was like Canadian dried ginger ale powder and pomegranate from Crystal Light and then
interesting.
added skinny mix syrup to it. I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm gonna buy
Water
all
top,
the
that's
things.
interesting. I have a 17-year-old daughter that's really into those Mio. It's like these little drop things that you put in your
Yeah,
water.
Mm,
So I didn't realize that was like a trendy thing, but
it
yes.
it
No,
is.
I'm plain boring tap water that I refill these stupid Ice Mountain plastic bottles with.
That's okay. Um, so we are here to celebrate your latest release, Runaway
Oh,
Love, which I owe you a review, sister friend. I'm obsessed. I'm
I'm so glad.
so excited.
mm.
Well, and we'll get into this here in a second. Let me get through the rules and then we can go to my obsession here. Um, You guys can ask all the questions in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. In the description of the video are the links and all the places you can connect with Melanie. Make sure you subscribe to all the things. And then we kind of kicked it off to what Melanie's drinking water, and Carolina has water. I actually did make a cocktail because it's Star Wars Day.
May the 4th,
And then tomorrow is Cinco de
Cinco de
Mayo.
Mayo.
Well, mhm.
So I took some Fever Tree grapefruit ginger beer and added some
Love
tequila
it.
to it. So, just make it a little
That's
spicy
a
this
solid
evening.
decision right there. Yes.
Um, okay. So I am super excited about this series. So that's the first question. Is this going to be a series? Okay.
Yes. It will be a series. So it's based on a family, and that family has five children, five siblings. And so there's four brothers. I've never done brothers before. So I usually do sisters, which is kind of interesting to me because I do not have any sisters. I only have brothers. Um, so I think it's like my fantasy that I write books about sisters. I get the sisters that I always wanted. But this has four brothers and one little sister, so each of them gets a book. So five books.
I'm
Yes.
so
Very exciting because
excited.
that was going to be my next question on is it the siblings? Because you've set them up so well. I am already ready for the rest of the series. Like, I want it tomorrow, please, and thank you.
I am so glad because it's something that I try to do. I'm like, okay, I need to really decide so I can drop little like Easter eggs so that they're thinking, well, what's going to be next? And one of the thing that's really interesting when I look at Kindle highlights is sometimes the things that people highlight are just the names of characters that like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like it's like a note for themselves, like, is this gonna be another book? Like they're gonna remember it or something.
I have
Because I'm
notes in my phone. I wrote down all the siblings' name and the dad's name because just to put
can
it
you
out
send it
there,
to me? Because I forget.
sure.
Yeah.
Just to put it out there, if the dad got a sweet little novella with just maybe a lady friend, it doesn't have to be spicy, but just a sweet lady friend that he
Or
meets.
an extended epilogue, like a bonus
Mhm.
extra
Yes,
extended epilogue.
I'm just telling you,
I
dad,
hear you.
I loved
Some of
him.
my most favorite series, the extended, like the series extended epilogue, is
Mhm.
of the matriarch or patriarch, like that has that.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I promise to tie it all up with a bow, and I will give their dad like a friend or
Just
something
a
that
lady
is a
friend.
companion.
Companion.
A companion, yes.
I just I
I can do
think
it.
I loved him in this book. And we are not going to spoil this book. It dropped today. It's in Kindle Unlimited. We want everyone watching to go over and grab that
Like this.
book and
Mhm.
give this a read because I love this. Um, and I love that it's the area that you picked. So I live in Ohio, and we actually got to meet a couple weeks ago in Mall
You
Meet at
did.
Barnes and Noble, which was so cool. Thank you.
Was.
It was so cool. Well, it's so funny. You really aren't that far. And there are book festivals like in Ann Arbor. But
Mhm.
last year they had Beverly Jenkins was there. But there's like some
Oh.
great romance authors up in Michigan.
Mhm.
So I was just
Mhm.
like, please trickle down more.
Well, I think that a lot of indie authors are there are more indie authors than ever before in bookshops now, in bookstores now, both in,
Mhm.
chain stores like Barnes and Noble and in independent bookstores, with Ingram Spark distributing indie books, booksellers can get them. And the resurgence of paperbacks, the popularity of paperbacks means that bookstores are booming again. I'm sorry, guys. I
That's
just
okay.
got a text. I'm turning off my phone. I thought I put it on Do Not Disturb.
It's okay.
Well, speaking of book being like in independent bookstores and mainstream bookstores, I was recently in San Diego and I saw on TikTok that there was a romance bookstore that opened up in San Diego. So
Uh,
I had to go, right? Like I had to get my butt in there. It's called Meet Cute. It's in North Park. I recommend everybody go. The selection they had was fantastic, from different tropes, like diversity of authors
mhm.
and diversity in traditional public and independent. Your books were in there.
Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Wow.
the now I'm
Probably
blanking on the
Bellamy
series.
Creek, because those are the ones you've just.
No, it
Oh,
wasn't
it
Bellamy
wasn't.
Creek. It
Was
was
it
the one before it. What's the one?
Ignite
Or
or Cloverleigh Farms, like
Cloverleigh
Irresistible?
Farms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That series was in there.
That's
So
interesting. Oh,
yeah.
that makes me so happy. My heart is like all aflutter right now.
Yeah.
I have a question for you though. So in this bookstore that's all romance, how do they arrange by shelves? Is it by like subgenre? Is there like fantasy over here and I don't know what, like romantic
Yeah.
suspense over here?
They had like there was some sections, it was how you would expect a bookstore to be,
Okay.
by like subgenre, and like historical was all in one
Yep.
section, dark romance. um then there were like tables. There was a table at the entrance, like anything that had a bookstore in it, any romance book that had
Oh,
a
that's
bookstore in it. They
clever. Yeah.
had a LGBTQ table. They
Mhm.
had and then it was like, you know kind of a wall of like everything mixed like in,
Yeah.
and all the recommendations, and like then by like author alpha
It's
order.
so
So
cool. That is just
yeah.
cool.
They even had um like, and there was like new adult, like it was, yeah, it was just sectioned by
Yeah.
that. They had a
Yeah.
whole section for BIPOC authors, and
Mhm.
so yeah, it
I love it.
was kind of like what exactly you wanted it to
Yeah, like
be.
angels sang when you walked in, and it's like, I have found my home. I am never leaving. Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's
Um,
amazing.
what is that feeling like, Melanie, when you walk into that bookstore and your books are on the shelf? Because you've been writing for a lot of years and you've been a KU, so an
Mhm.
Amazon exclusive author, and kind of being in bookstores is a little new for you. So what's that feeling like?
It was next level. It was the most joyful and just surreal experience. It is something that as an indie author, as a Kindle Unlimited author, I traded that for, for other things, like being indie, I have a lot of control. I have a lot of freedom. I have a lot of flexibility. I can be very nimble. I have creative control. I can release quickly, although I don't. But and then being exclusive to Amazon, I happen to like the subscription model. So I realized that I am exclusive to Amazon, and that automatically prevented me from doing things like hitting lists or being in bookstores. But so to see this now happen, it's just wild. I mean, I can't describe how joyful it was to walk in and see those books and to hear that they sell there.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was so cool. It was
I
really
bet.
cool.
Well, I mean, you haven't exactly just been on Amazon doing nothing, because one of the first books I read from you was book 2 in the Bellamy Creek, Make Me Yours, I think.
It's yours. Hmm.
Um, the day that released, it went to #1 in the Amazon Kindle store and beat out Barack Obama's book.
That was hysterical to me. For like a couple of hours, I was at 1 and Barack Obama was at number 2.
Right?
It was November. There were all these jokes. I was getting all these texts like, "Are you going to the Obamas for Thanksgiving?" Like, yes, I am.
I mean, that's wild. Like,
It
aren't you
was.
kind of like, I'm just Melanie, like here in the mitten, doing my thing, being
Shirtless
chill.
man right next to the president. Yes, it was that was really fun. Yeah, yeah. So no, I mean, I haven't been doing nothing. I have been working hard and building a readership, and but still being in a bookstore was something that I didn't think could happen.
It's so exciting. It is so exciting. Okay, so tell us your favorite trope, because I have a guess what your favorite trope might be.
I can imagine that you would guess correct.
I
Go for
venture to guess your trope is grumpy single dad. Like, that's
Yeah.
your go-to trope.
Every series has one.
I can't stop with them, and no one's ever told me to stop. No one has ever been like, stop with the grumpy single dads. So each series does have one. No, it's like, and I talk about this a lot. There's a book that I read as a teenager, probably. It was one of my mom's old Laurel Spencer romances called Years, and it was grumpy single dad. He was a farmer. It was age gap. It was like grumpy sunshine. It just like installed all of my buttons. So I've just really like love to hit those buttons in my own writing. So I love a single dad. I love grumpy sunshine. I love an age gap. You can't write them every single time, but I sneak them in when I can. That's for sure.
Well, and I think
I'm not
what's
sad
so
about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think back to all of the grumpy single dads in the series, and they each have their own unique qualities. It's not like it's that cookie cutter grumpy single dad. I'm not sorry that I am happy to
You guys are here for it.
I
Good,
mean,
thank you.
I am completely here for it, because as I was reading going, damn, he is grumpy. Austin is just grumpy pants, like I think more than I think any of your other single dads have been. I mean, they've all been grumpy, but he's
He was
owning the grumpiness.
I mean, yeah, but he had I try to give them all like a deep reason for that kind of crusty exterior. And I mean, if you're Austin and you kind of had a plan for your life, you were going to get out of
Yeah.
your small town, you were going to go do something, and then to find yourself, you couldn't leave after high school for one reason related to your family. And then you were going to leave. You know what it reminded me of? Do you guys remember It's a Wonderful Life with George Bailey? And he was always like, he was gonna leave and gonna leave and gonna leave. And there was always like that something else kept him there. His father died, and then his brother went to college, and then his brother got married. So there was always something keeping him in this small town. And that must have been like in the back of my mind, because I do love that movie. So I just wanted to give him like all of these things that kept him kind of almost stuck, although he would never say that, because he does love being a single dad, but he found
He
himself the
adores his
dad of
kids.
twins alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he wanted those kids, and that was the choice. He was gonna have to raise them alone, or not get to raise them. So he said, okay, I'm gonna raise them alone. I mean, at heart, he's a family guy, and his family means everything to him. So he's just gonna be a little bit grumpy about it, because he did have to sacrifice some things. But also, I think
in his career too,
yeah, right,
or
right.
responsibility to his father, and
He felt the
Like,
responsibility
I
to
mean,
his
he
brother.
broods like a mean cup of tea broods. Like,
I
the
love a
steep,
brooder.
dark brooder.
I love a brooder who's just a good guy. He's not
Yeah.
like mean broody. He's just
No.
her.
He has this
Yeah.
complete connection to the family, and he's just always going to be the family guy. Like
Mhm.
he's that piece keeping everything together, and he feels this great sense of responsibility. And the struggle you do with him as a character in his choice to go for what he desires over
Mhm.
what is the responsible thing was so well done. I sometimes, you know, we'll get a story and you have that back and forth, that mental back and forth, and sometimes you can think, just do it, dude. But every time he like sort of stepped, because Caroline and I were talking about in the podcast, we call it the pop, when there is on page action. That's when the book
Mhm.
pops, so we know that it's spicy and not
Mhm.
spicy. And Carolina's like, oh, the pop. And I was like, yeah, but this book kind of popped before because there's this kiss and there's this issue in a
Yeah.
garage
Uh-huh.
and a striptease in a window.
Yeah. I was so proud of her for that one.
Yeah, you know, oh yeah, she took matters into her own hands. She was frustrated with him. Yeah, I am not a slow burn writer. And I always have to pace myself, like, and not let them just go at each other right away. I have to be like, no, calm down. You know, just small moments of tension to just get the juices like flowing can work. It doesn't have to be the full pop immediately. So I try to like let it simmer a little bit. Because yeah, he was not going to get involved with that girl. And she had something to say about that.
It's so funny because Erin Nicholas, we talked to her last week to
Oh
celebrate
yeah.
all of her Badges of the Bayou series, and she had the same thing. She likes it she wants them together, and
Mhm.
everyone's always like, you gotta slow it down. You
Yeah.
know, they can't be doing it on page 3. Give them a
Mhm.
break. So I love that because I like both your books, and now I kind of know why.
Right. Yeah. No, no one comes to me for a slow burn, that's for sure. Um the probably I usually like I even know when it's coming. It's usually around like chapter 8. Chapter 9 I start getting like
Itchy.
yeah, the only time I ever really like went for it right out of the gate was with Tempt. That was the but that was like a one night stand with a stranger kind of thing. So I couldn't let them get to know each other really before. They just had to be like, well, this is happening. It's a one night vacation fling. So that was a riot, I gotta say, being able to switch up kind of the order of things, let them get together, and then later let them realize, oops, it was my ex's dad.
Um, it's fun too because that second generation of Cloverleigh Farms, it really kind of, and I know Book Talk kind of took it and just ran with it. And, you know, Bellamy Creek's a great series, and everyone's always like, "Oh, I like this book. I like this book." I'm like, "Could someone please read Tie Me Down? That's my favorite." Like,
You
please.
know, yeah, Bellamy Creek it came, I'm trying to think when the last book, it was right before Book Talk really, I think found
Yeah.
its footing. So, the new covers, I think the illustrated covers of the Bellamy Creek series have gotten, uh, more love, but I did not switch out the ebook covers. I cannot bring myself to switch out the ebook covers on that series.
No.
I I'm so like I just can't.
And we
I
thank you for that.
They look so nice in
We
my
thank
Kindle,
you.
so
Like,
yeah, maybe at
I
some point I would, but at this point,
no.
like I just really still love those man covers, and I can't bring myself to switch it out yet.
we're
And
not
we
sad they're not.
appreciate that. We are not sad about that at all.
You're welcome.
So this is a new series.
Mhm.
And you're leaving, so you revisited the last series was a revisit to Cloverleigh Farms and
Yes.
all of that and the Sawyers. And you are now moving into new characters, a new series. Is it hard to move on? Is it hard to say goodbye to a family you've spent the last like 18 months with and now like I have to meet new
Yeah.
friends? Sorry.
Yeah, it is hard. There's a comfort level. I know them really well. I know the scenery. I know the layout. And I had to make up all new stuff. It's also refreshing. The thing about starting a brand new series is it's an entry point for new readers.
Mhm.
Um, I was lucky. I had two entry points with Cloverleigh Farms. I had Irresistible and I had Ignite, and I had new readers coming in at both points. And sometimes if they started with Ignite, which was the second generation, they would go back and read the first generation. I wanted both series to stand alone, but really they were obviously very connected. So this new series, Cherry Tree Harbor, it allows for someone to come in really with no prior experience with a Melanie Harlow book and feel okay.
Yeah. I love that it's in Michigan. The fact that it's cherry season in Traverse City, Michigan, and
Always.
um I know that area, so I have to ask you a very random question because it came up in a book, and I'm not going to say what book. It came up in a book earlier this week. Towns that are by lakes, the Great Lakes, because I live in Ohio and I'm a Lake Erie person.
Mhm.
Do you call them coastal towns or lakeside towns?
Um, Gosh, I don't really use the word coast,
Thank you.
like coastal.
That's the right answer, FYI. Just the right answer.
No, lake. I guess I would have to go with lakeside. Also, yeah. I don't really, I mean, coast to me seems more like
Ocean.
East Coast or West Coast. Although, I
Mhm.
mean, we do talk about the West, I guess we talk about the West Coast of Michigan, maybe, but usually when we talk about like the Great Lakes, we know that Lake Michigan is over there, Lake Huron is over here, Lake Superior is up there,
Yeah.
Lake Erie is over here. Um, so no, I don't really.
I've never heard anyone from Petoskey. I have tons of friends that have places like in Glen Arbor and Torch Lake, and we go to Boyne and go skiing and all those things. I have
Yep.
never heard anyone say the Michigan coasts or the coastal town of. I mean, could you imagine going up to somebody from Petoskey and being like, the coastal town of Petoskey, and they'd be
Right.
like, they'd tell you where to put it.
Right. Yeah.
They'd be
It's not.
nice about it.
I don't really think of it like a coast. No, I would just say, yeah, I guess like a small like
Lakeside.
lakeside town. I mean, even like Cherry Tree Harbor is based on Harbor Springs.
Okay.
So I just didn't call it that because I took some liberties with like geography and place names and all that. And, of course, somebody would text me and be like, excuse me, there is no, this there's no hardware store on Main Street. And so just to avoid all that, or, you use a place that goes out of business and then it sort of dates your book. So
Yeah.
I have found that it's better to just make stuff up.
When I read Lexi Ryan's Boys of Jackson Harbor, it takes place in Jackson Harbor. And I
Mhm.
texted her and I'm like, this is Glen Haven, right? And she's like, would you get away? She's
Yeah.
like, you only know that because you've been there.
Yeah. I get Bellamy Creek is based on Saugatuck.
Yeah.
And people who are from that area will message me and be like, is this Saugatuck? I'm like,
Shh, don't tell anyone. Yeah, she basically told me go away. Just because you've been there, go away.
I think it's cool. Like they, means I did an okay job describing it if they
Yeah.
recognize it.
Yeah. Well, and I love Northern Michigan. It is such a gem. And
Mhm.
I don't think people realize kind of how cool some of the stuff up there is and being on the different lakes and the dunes and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, oh, it's so beautiful. It's the UP is beautiful too. I've not set a romance on the UP, but you never know. The Upper Peninsula could beckon me someday. I'd love to set one on Mackinac Island at some point, or a series on Mackinac Island. I actually grew up going to the like eastern side of Michigan because I'm right north of Detroit. So we just would drive up what we call the thumb area of Michigan. That's how I think of Michigan, as like,
same. The
we've
midget.
got like thumb and pinky. So here's like Cherry Tree Harbors up here. This is me down here. I grew up going to this area over
Here.
here.
And so I'm right
There's
about
there's
here.
you. Yeah.
Yep. It's so funny because when you meet someone from Michigan, they automatically, you'll be like, oh, where in Michigan are you from? They're like, so
Yeah.
Detroit is here. I live about here. My dad was from Grand Rapids.
Oh yeah.
So we had tons of family up there. So yeah, I always laugh because they're like, we're here.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's so funny that you did it too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So we don't have coasts. We just have sides of the mitten.
Right? Size of the It's just Lakeside. Okay, because that was a thing for me. I can tell you about it another time, but it was a thing for me. Someone referred to like Michigan
You were
as
triggered.
coastal small towns, and I'm like, no,
I
no.
mean, yeah.
I know that Lake Superior is considered what, the largest inland sea, right? I think so.
You know what? That's like the only Great Lake. Oh no, wait, have I been in it? I'm trying to think if I've been in lakes. I don't think I've actually like gone swimming in freezing cold Lake Superior.
I don't think I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have not. It's like the coldest, deepest one of the lakes. It's a little scary. I'm a little scared by that.
So Veronica, our heroine in this book, let's get back to the book,
Mhm.
is a former rockette. That was kind of a
Yes.
cool career.
So I have a friend, I actually dedicated the book to her, that was a rockette, and I'm just fascinated by her stories all the time. And she would tell me all these crazy things like they train so hard and they are so like precise. I'm just amazed. I mean, I'm a former dancer too. And when I see those rockettes, like I'm just astonished at how precise and like their lines are all the same, but she would be like, oh, someone's shoe would fly off like into the audience. Like, what?
Yeah. How do you
Um,
keep going?
right. She's oh, you just keep going. Yeah. If you're they have some really fast changes, which I referenced in the book.
Yeah.
And so if someone's shoe didn't get buckled quite, right, and then it's like just flopping off their foot, it's one sharp high kick and it was gone. She said that they used to try to pass things to each other, like hand to hand, and see if it could go down the line. They would pass a condom to each other
Oh my God, that's
on stage.
hilarious.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things like that make writing so fun, like little inside stories about a certain job or, a town or whatever. I love to hear like those little interesting things that make it fun.
Well, and I think it also, from a character perspective as the reader, it lets you like connect with them on a deeper level. And because it's not just, and you do a fabulous job of working it into the character, into the story throughout the book. It's not just, oh, I used to be a rockette, and so she has great long legs. Like
She does have some nice legs.
I
Yeah.
mean, she does have nice legs, don't get me wrong, because they work for them too, right?
Yeah.
But there's moments in the beginning, and I don't want to like
I love that scene
a
so much.
special like
Yeah.
move that she does, and then when she meets the kids, she kind of does it just real naturally because she can, and so the kids try to recreate it, and then I grew up dancing too, and I think one of my favorite parts was when she created tap shoes with their sneakers. Like,
It's a real thing. I looked it up. I know.
yeah.
I
And
was like, what could she do that's fun with them? And so I looked that up and I was like, oh my gosh, you can make tap shoes.
yes, and it was just so sweet, like those moments where
Mhm.
and then teaching for the senior center. But what I also love, and I want to go back to the small town, is like you paint them so well. Like you get in the book and you just get the sense of like I could walk down the street and be like, okay, here it is. And I'm not from that area. Like grew up in San Diego, I live in Orlando now. Like this is not but I feel like I've just been dropped into this place. So as you're building these, I mean, I know you're based off some areas, but are there certain things that you have to have for your small towns?
So I think one of the great things about small town is that there is a built-in kind of vision in people's heads what it looked like, whether that's from reading a lot of small town romance or watching like Hallmark Channel movies,
Mhm.
or we sort of just have it's like shorthand. We sort of have some expectations. And it's like, I think of it as like, it's sort of a blank coloring page, and I provide the color. I'll color it in.
Yeah.
You have the template there of what a small town is, and I just provide like the details and color it in, and it registers that way because you already have that file somewhere in your brain of what a small town, a charming small town with a harbor looks like. I try to be sort of careful about it too, because too much description of setting is not good. You want just enough to ground the reader, and you want to sprinkle it in like long pages of setting. It used to work 100 years ago. That's what you would get in a book. Modern readers will not stand for it. So, you know, I got to be tight. I got to make every single word count, and you know, convey what the setting is and how I want them to feel about it in as few words as possible.
Well, you do a great job of it. And that kind of introduction to her into Moe's Diner, which this town has so much kitsch. I am
so much personality.
I love a kitschy small town, and this town has it.
I mean, don't you just want to go there? You just know what that
Yes.
place is. If I say Moe's Diner to you with a black and white checked floor,
Yep.
like you just automatically, it's there with the counter where you get a milkshake and a burger.
Yeah.
Like it's out of another era. It's lifted from a million small towns in America. So, and I take advantage of that because I don't have to do a lot of explaining. I just let her walk in, you know, in her wedding dress, and like the jukebox is playing, and I just imagined her like summoning all her dignity and like gathering up her dress, like scooting through the tables to get to the counter because she was hungry. Yeah, so you know, I take advantage of the fact, I guess, that you guys know what that Moe's Diner looks like, and then I can move on to the people and the character and the story that she has to tell, and those people sitting at the counter, the grumpy barber, you know, the high school teacher, like
Yep.
you know who those characters are, because, you know, are they kind of stereotyped or cliche? Yes, but that is handy for a writer, that I don't have to do a whole lot of explaining.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a great way to meet a lot of people from the town, a lot of secondary characters who do play a role in the story at once, and do quick introductions without having to give a lot of backstory as well.
Right.
Like even from the reader perspective, like, oh, okay, yeah, like because you expect to see all of these people gathered at the diner or the coffee shop or the like. So.
Yeah, exactly. They're secondary characters. They're not, you know, they're static, they're props kind of. But I'm sort of using them to shine a light on in that scene, Veronica and her problem.
Yeah.
Susie said Gilmore Girls, and then Kelly is here from Boobies and Newbies, and she's like, yes, I always think of Star Hollow with the every town needs the 50s diner kind of feel, like the Luke's kind of feel.
So delightful.
Yes.
Yes.
And Karen said you write small town romance so freaking good. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It is like catnip. I love it so much.
And you don't have to tell us, but you can tell us because Ari, she's the waitress at Moe's.
Somebody already texted me and was like, please tell me there's going to be an Ari and Dash book. And yes, there will be an Ari and Dash. So he was the actor. His picture is on the wall that she sort of sneers at. So there's some history there. So that is, if all goes to plan, I say this now, you guys, but don't. This should be live. That should be book 4.
Okay.
And so that would be so that is her best friend's brother. So that'll be a best friend's brother story, and kind of a celebrity story because he's an actor.
Yeah. And yeah. Okay, so the meet cute between Veronica and Austin, I love that she did not change out of her wedding dress. She went to the interview to be a nanny in her wedding dress.
The pretty bride lady.
Punctual interview. Yes. That actually was the scene in my head that gave me the idea for a book. I just imagined this like down on her luck, like runaway bride, like going up to the front porch and knocking on the door to interview for a nanny job, and she is like not qualified at all. She has zero experience and no business applying for this job. And I was like, okay. And he comes to the door and he's like grumpy and he's like, excuse me, what? And she's like, I'm here about the job. And so I started with that in my head and I thought, okay, how can I build a story around that moment? So that's where it came from.
It's so great. So great, 'cause and there are so many great little scenes where he's the observer and it's her with the kids or her just having a moment. And I love how you write that. Like, I think that takes a special vision
Mhm.
and talent to be able to write the observer and to feel still in the moment. Are those challenging for you?
You know, I'm a very internal, I always say I'm a very thinky writer. I really love to get in a character's head and let the reader know like what that person is thinking while he or she is observing something else. I just think it's such a great way to communicate who this person really is because I love dialogue, but people don't always say what they're thinking or feeling. People
Mhm.
lie, they're protecting themselves, they get defensive. Um, so to me, like the only real truth you're gonna get is when you're in that person's head and they are they're admitting something or revealing something to you or what they're thinking. Maybe they don't come right out and even think it, but the reader is taking that and going, oh, I see, I understand this guy better. Because otherwise what you have is just like description and dialogue, and that's just a bunch of talking heads walking around to me. Like it might as well be a script.
Right.
If you lose that internal piece of it. So for me as a writer, that's the beauty of the novel, right? You get to be in their heads. So that's the fun part.
Yeah, but you're in the heads. We're getting this monologue, but we're not taken out of the moment, I think is what you do so well. Because,
Yeah.
like, there's a great scene with her and the kids in the backyard, and he's observing. Austin is watching this, and you feel in the moment with the kids while he's expressing his discomfort,
Inappropriate thoughts.
desire, the war he's having with himself.
Yeah, when she's teaching them some yoga poses.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah. I mean, and that's a balance too. I have a good editor. If I start to let that go on for too long, she'd probably say, we gotta keep the momentum going. Pacing is
Mhm.
very important to me as a writer. I don't write super lengthy books because rhythm is very important to me. So I can hear a scene in my head pretty well. And if the song starts to go on too long, and this might come from a dance background, I don't really know. But the rhythm of a sentence, the rhythm of a paragraph, the rhythm of a scene is all really important to me. So I tend to try to like keep it concise, get in and get out of their thoughts, get in and get out of a flashback, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's important to me.
So in this book, Austin is from this big family that's involved in, thread and woven within this small town. And then you have Veronica, who she's an only child from a single mom who didn't
Mhm.
have any family. She has a few close friends. And I was thinking about it, and you kind of like to do this. You kind of like to balance your characters with small family coming into big, or someone from a big family learning how to work through a small family. Now, do you come from a big family?
Not particularly. My I mean, my mom and dad, and then I have two brothers. So there
Okay.
were five of us. Um, but like my mom is one of 10. And so I had tons of cousins on that side. So, and that family, it was big, like Italian family, got together all the time. So I had that dynamic to work with. And then the family that I married into, my husband is Lebanese. He's the youngest of six. So that was kind of a big family. And then his mom, my mother-in-law, I love her. She's 97. She's still around. She was one of 21.
Oh,
So I know it was bananas. She was
yeah.
one of the younger ones too. So that family is just gigantic, you know, and when they get together, it's just the food and the music and so I have a little bit of both. Um, and I really like bringing people, there's sort of that fish out of water experience when you come from a small family and then you're thrown into this big family. But I think for Veronica, like she always wanted siblings.
Mhm.
She wanted a dad that she never had. She was close to her mom, but then she lost her mom. So this girl was adrift, which was how she ended up saying yes to a guy she didn't want to marry. Um, and I had to build that in too. I was like, I gotta convince readers that she had a decent reason to say yes to this jerk that she almost married. Um, but that was, she was lonely.
And
So, and then you bring her into like a small town that feels like there's tons of people around all the time, and this family. I mean, that was a dream for her.
and I love that he's this villain, the fiance, the ex-fiance. Now, is this your first runaway bride that you've ever written?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love a runaway bride. I'm a
Yeah.
fool for them. So great job. Great job, friend.
Thank you. I was like, could I write a runaway bride? I mean, it's such a fanciful thing. It's really kind of absurd, but I was like, no, there's got to be a way I could do it and have it make sense for a Melanie Harlow book. Because I don't write a lot of like
Mm.
really like screwball slapstick kind of things. They're a little bit, relatable, as relatable as romance can be. But I was like, I really want to do this. I got to figure out a way to do it. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
had a ball. And that her ex, the villain, so much fun writing a bad person. It's just, you just let them say the most ridiculous,
He
like
wasn't even on the
meanest
page for that much, but like I had a sheer hatred for
Oh,
him.
immediately.
I
Immediately.
was
It's
like,
so terrible.
ugh.
Well, and it also shows how, from a character development building, like right from the beginning, you, when you meet her and understand, you can really see how much she's not being listened to or being
Right.
seen as a person in a
Right.
very short amount of time. Like you get it, you immediately get it, in all the best ways.
Yeah, he got what he deserved.
Oh, yes. Well, and it's very like in that like as a reader we like it too because it was just a little whimsical and fantastical of like how it happened, the fact that she was kind of forced to go to the aisle and like down the
Uh-huh.
aisle and like her getaway and the
Mhm.
diner, like it just
And I just see
Yeah.
this woman like marching
like
down the street in this big
I saw it. Like I
poofy.
saw the movie. Like I saw it on the screen in my head. Like it was right there for you.
Good. Yeah. I mean, those scenes were so visual, like with this woman in this giant dress. But yeah, if she called it off and he owned everything. She lost her job, her place to live, her car, he cut off her credit cards, like she was stuck.
Oh my gosh, in the hotel when she's
Yeah.
repacking her stuff and the hotel person is there watching her
Mm-hmm.
and what she does with the dress.
Uh-huh.
Read it. So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was fantastic. Like there are so many great moments in this book and it was one that every single one just added a little bit more to the story and a little bit more depth and I seriously, you can sit down and read this book in one sitting. So what I'm telling you friends is if you download it tonight, do not start it at bedtime. You will
Or start it at bedtime just knowing that you are not going to sleep this evening.
No,
I
it's
apologize in advance for all of your tired Friday morning. Sorry.
it's so fantastic. So we have these 4 other siblings from Austin now. So we have so Xander, he owns the bar, the tiki bar that he's
Xander's opening a
rehabbing.
bar. Yes, I'm writing his book right now, so that'll be out in August.
Okay. Um he's a flirt and he reminds me so much. Oh gosh, now his name is gonna his heroine is Bianca. It's the
Oh
from
yeah, Enzo.
Enzo.
Yeah, I'm writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So Xander and Kelly, her name's Kelly in the book, have a very similar dynamic to Enzo and Bianca. Yes, she even has red hair. That's interesting. Yes.
It's perfect.
I could see that. He is a charmer and he knows it. So this is not a grumpy hero. But yes, I've been having a lot of fun with him. He actually, so he was a Navy SEAL. There's a lot of former Navy SEALs wandering around in Melanie Harlow's small towns.
That's okay.
And yeah.
They have to go
Again, I've
somewhere.
not had any complaints yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
No complaints. We are all here for it. We are happy to meet them.
So he gets a phone call from a guy who saved his life actually years ago. And so he owes this guy a favor. And the guy's like, listen, my sister is kind of a big name in country music and she needs a bodyguard for 2 weeks. Could you fill in and provide security for her for 2 weeks while she goes on this vacation? And of course, she does not want security on her vacation. She just wants privacy and time alone. And
Like
but he's
catnip.
there. And
All of this is just catnip. Like August
Pushing the
is
button.
way too long.
You guys, there's only one bed.
Oh my gosh.
Just take the money now, Melanie.
There's a shortage of beds in Melanie Harlow books. Yes. So yeah, I'm having a good time writing them. And then the other siblings will each get a book. So this series probably will go through at least for another year. I usually try to release about every 3-4 months.
Okay. Because, yeah, we've got Devlin who works in Boston and is the finance guy.
Yeah, so Devlin is my suit hero in this series, but he will come home to his small town. And then Dashel is the actor. He will also come home to the small town for a visit.
Which I'm really excited about because you set him up that he's this older hero, this older guy who is stuck like on a Disney show playing a teen heartthrob. And so his main audience are like 14 to 9-year-olds. Like he has the tween fans.
I actually started writing that book a while back. I thought it was going to be a book one in a different series that I ended up not writing. But I had this idea of, this guy goes out to Hollywood to be like a serious actor, but he gets cast on this Disney beach show, like a teen beach show. And then he's just typecast and his fans are all like preteen girls and no one will take him seriously. And he's just miserable and he doesn't know if he should just like forget the whole career and like, do something else with his life. Or if he's going to be playing like teen lifeguard until he's too old and then he has to play the dad.
I love it.
Yeah, so I love to take a character and kind of humiliate them in the beginning of a book, or start from a place that's really humiliating and then watch them like learn whatever it is that they need to learn in order to, pull themselves up again.
And then we have Mabel, the baby sister.
Well, the baby sister, yes. Mabel abandoned her brother because she was supposed to be the nanny, but we're glad that she did because then Veronica got to move in and be the nanny. But yes, Mabel will eventually come home and have her own book too.
Yeah, I'm excited. She's smart. She's an archaeologist, and one of my very, very good friends is an archaeologist, actually in Northwest Ohio, and it's not as glamorous as you think it is.
That was my dream job when I grew up. I thought I was going to be an archaeologist. Like I just wanted to dig in the dirt and find things. And then I think I figured out how actually dirty it really was and just grueling. Like you just all day long sifting through these like tiny, things. And you find I think I imagined myself finding all kinds of treasure, like, Egyptian, like King Tut's tomb or whatever. But no, I always and I'm really fascinated even still to this day by that profession. And so yes, I'm living vicariously through Mabel.
I love it. I'm so excited for this series. And again, I love that it's in Michigan and that Traverse City area is so fun. And there's a great wine trail up through there. And they have all these great.
So much good. There's good like distilleries. There's good everything up there.
Yeah. There's so much fun up there. Seriously, Carolina, there's like foodie stuff and like in Gaylord, Michigan, like
You can go in the winter and ski. I know you probably don't like snow because you're like California and Florida. You're like, no, thank you. You can keep your winter. But if you don't mind like cold weather, it's so pretty in the winter time. We have some cool skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then summer is beautiful on the water.
I
Yeah.
like the warm food, like the stews and the hot chocolates and the like. I will go
Comfort,
for the winter for
winter
all of
food.
that comfort and like the big roaring fireplace because we don't get that
Yes.
feel.
What's
So
better? Yes, you go out, you're like on the
yeah,
slope all day, you're like cold, you go in for
well, you won't probably find me on the slopes. I'll go outside. I'll sit by the fire pit outside, and I'll be on
like
standby to bring you the hot
yeah,
chocolate.
on
Like
the après ski. Yes.
yeah, I enjoy the après ski part,
Not so much the ski.
not so much the ski
Focus on
part.
the après. Yes.
There's a
For
great
sure.
like up in Boyne that you take the ski lift up the mountain to eat at the restaurant, and then you take the ski
Mhm.
lift to come down. I did not do it, but I always think, how do you have like a couple drinks with dinner,
I,
go up for the
I
restaurant,
don't know
come
how
down to the
people
hotel?
like have a beer or have a drink with their lunch while they're skiing and then they go ski. Like,
Yeah.
what? I need
If
like all of my faculties. I'm on the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I'm taking the ski lift up to for the dinner, as long as I can take the ski lift back
Yeah.
down, great. I'm all for it. That's my jam. I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very pretty up there.
Okay, everyone, you can get Runaway Love out right now. It is available in Kindle Unlimited, but this is one you're going to want to purchase and have for always because this series is going to be amazing. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us for Happy Hour.
It was my pleasure. I had a great time. Thank you.
Anytime. We'll be back next Wednesday with author Lucy Smoke. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can join us. We've got a month long of amazing happy hours. So until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Good night.
Bye.